No, that's way too loud.
That's good,
I'm not
though.
going to get up there. I'm never going to get
You
up there.
do sometimes.
No, I don't.
Here's what you really do, though. Then you start talking like this.
I never do that. Oh, yeah, I do
You do
that.
that.
I
yeah.
do that.
It'll happen.
What is your problem?
Exactly.
Just like that. Yeah, you're right.
What's the deal?
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 Yo, what's the deal?
What's the deal?
What's the deal?
Hey, what's the deal?
What's good, everybody? I'm Steve Discourse.
What up, y'all? It's your girl, Jay Callie.
Back, finally. It was good to see you again.
I'm happy to be back. I had a lovely time away, but I just kept thinking about the people, and I just kept thinking about the show, Steve.
Mm-hmm. Well, so did I. I was thinking about the show last week, and we held it down with my great guest co-host, Dominique Lamb.
That's right.
So shout out to everyone for listening to that. But what are we going to do today?
All right, today we got some updates on the impeachment process. We talked about it a little bit 2 weeks ago, so we got some news.
On the process.
Yeah, the process.
So
that's right.
The Chicago teachers strike, which has also been on our table for a couple weeks, has been resolved. So we'll talk about that a little bit.
I can't wait to hear what they all settled on. Also, the police blew up somebody's whole entire house to salvage a few T-shirts from Walmart.
That's wild.
That's actually wild. I can't wait to talk about it.
And we're going to discuss a bunch of topics around bias and diversity issues within facial recognition software, particularly Amazon, but we're going to go a little bit wider than that.
Oh, yeah, and I have a story for that one.
Okay, so I think we should start with this impeachment thing.
You got to take that one because you already know it's convoluted and complex for me.
Yeah, so there's not a whole lot to get into here, but it's an interesting process. So essentially what happened last week is the Democrats said, okay, we're going to now move from our early investigation kind of process, and we're going to take this out into the full public view. So they had a vote in Congress. It was successful. And so now we're going to proceed with this impeachment inquiry in the public. We're going to have public hearings and testimonies and things like that, which is what Republicans were, criticizing the process for all along. They kept saying it's secretive and we don't know what they're doing. They also said that they didn't have a chance for input, which was a lie because these are congressional committees with both Republicans and Democrats on them. So they did have a chance to participate in these secretive hearings, and testimonies. And these are, this is about as sensitive a political issue as you can get because it goes all the way up to the top. We all sort of care about who becomes president. We don't necessarily care about what that committee is doing in Congress or something like that, or like state stuff. But the president is like, everybody's like, okay, hold on. You coming for presidents now? So impeachment is about as sensitive as it gets. And a lot of stuff like this is hard to really grasp definitively, like an objective truth about it, right? And so we tried to have Jim Becker on recently to clear some of that up and hopefully gave all of you a little bit of a more solid ground of information to say, okay, this is where I think it comes down. But at the end, with all the information, it can still feel very political, and you sort of have to decide what side you kind of want to take beforehand, or at some point you're just going to have to kind of say, all right, I kind of side with these folks over here a lot of times. But, the ongoing criticism before this phase to go public was that it's all secretive and everybody should know everything that's going on. But for context, when Bill Clinton was impeached, the beginning inquiry of that was similarly private, right? A lot of people may have heard the name Ken Starr. He was a special investigator brought in, sort of like Robert Mueller for the Russia investigation. And he conducted this whole investigation. There were secret subpoenas and testimonies and everything under his purview, right? The same way Robert Mueller did this.
Yeah.
We didn't know what was going on.
Right.
He put a little bit of information and updates, but so similarly, differently, Democrats who were in the minority at the time didn't have any input into that because he was a special investigator.
You're saying this happened at the Bill Clinton impeachment?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So the idea that it wasn't secret, or that it was secret up until this point about Trump, it's not really scandalous because they were just laying the groundwork. They want to say, is there really something here? They've been getting a lot of corroboration from their testimonies, is what they say, of the original whistleblower. And so now they say, okay, Let's move it to the public phase. And so if that was a concern of yours, A, we're past that. But B, in the most recent impeachment thing, it was a very private, secretive investigation that the Ken Starr report turned up. And once that was made public, that's when we transitioned now and had a whole government-wide, like, transparent process. So far, nothing really questionable going on necessarily. And I think that just helps put it into context because, again, a lot of this stuff, if you listen to the official day when they had this vote, you have these people stand up and say, the things that you're about to vote on are not sufficient for the side that I say they are. And then somebody get up and say, yes, they really are. And it's hard for any of us random, like, observers to really know who to believe in that sense. But I just wanted to add that context with the Ken Starr investigation because I think at least it clears that up. It's like, look, this is what happens. There was a early investigation. Once you get some solid information, now you're going to make it public and we're going to go public with it. Right. So that's where we're at now. And honestly, there's not a lot of more updates on that, but it's going to go forward in more of a public fashion. And every senator needs to be there in the room during all these things.
Must? Is it mandatory?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is real now.
Yeah.
Interesting. It might factor into the Democratic presidential primary because a lot of those people are senators. You got Warren, you got Sanders.
Oh, yeah.
Harris
they are.
and Booker are senators. So they got to be there every day. I'm
excited.
So when this really goes down, they can't be out here campaigning. And so some people are saying, Biden and Buttigieg might get a little bit of a boost because they can be out there campaigning while these other people are sitting there bored.
How much of a boost, really, though?
It could be 2 months worth of not being out on the campaign
that's
trail.
Crazy. That's a long time.
Or 6 weeks, maybe. So
I would hate to sacrifice that and then not win the election. Like, bruh, all this for my enemy?
Yeah. Oh, well.
Dang, that sucks.
So whatever, there might be some updates. We might hear some bombshell stuff that we want to share in the next coming weeks, but it's going to take a while for this to really unfold as usual. So,
I mean, it's been a slow roll already.
Right. What is not a slow roll, though, is that Chicago teachers strike because they came to an agreement. The strike was over a couple days ago. So what do you got for us?
I'm glad that you said that. So, it felt like it was rolling on for quite a long time. They ended up being on strike for 17 days. They shut school down for 11 days. Affecting over 300,000 students in Chicago. But like you said, it's over. They've come to a resolve, and the settlement is actually quite crazy. So for those of you who aren't familiar with like what's going on in Chicago or who their leaders are right now, the mayor is Lori Lightfoot, who is actually the person who they came to the settlement of $1.5 billion. It's a 5-year deal that's supposed to like improve education, the quality of education in the school system overall in Chicago for both students, teachers aides. Altogether, this $1.5 billion is supposed to really like pull everything together, put it to good use, put it into perspective. Now, of course, like every major political decision that's been made, there's been a little bit of backlash, people saying that Mayor Lightfoot is, being naive or just being a pushover and letting people have their way and yada, yada, yada. And she's like, look, I'm 57 years old. I've been doing this for years. I've been in litigation. I know how to handle myself. I took my time. I deliberated. I made sure I had the details, had the facts straight.
Okay, and so what did they decide?
So basically what the money is going to go towards is the hiring of new staff, such as counselors, nurses. It also talks about getting security at some of the schools and things that the schools are going to need more of. And also she guaranteed a 14% raise in salaries for teachers and has since moved that up to a 16% raise. Let's back up. I'm going to say it one more time because I don't think they heard me. A 16% salary increase. Do y'all know how much money that is over the course of 5 years? Everybody is basically going to be able to like, whatever. We all know what you can do with 16% salary increase. So I think that that's going to take up the bulk of the $1.5 billion. And of course, again, this isn't immediate. It's over the course of the 5-year rollout plan that they agreed on. So,
yeah, I think this was a good win. It's interesting because she was criticized for not coming to the table in the first place. And for the longest time during this strike, her stance was, okay, we'll do it, but we don't need to write it down. Like, why, just go back to work and we got you. And that was super naive. It's like, well, why? If I can make an agreement with you and get it in writing rather than not, I want that shit in writing.
Why would why would the teacher say, so foolish?
Okay, I've never heard of politics before. I'm just going to okay this and come back to work without getting anything down. So I think it was a good win. I like that they're dedicated to specifically a nurse and a social worker in every school by the end of it as well. And there's money to recruit and train folks for these positions as well. So, I mean, I think overall, you really got to think that they came out on top. The teachers got a lot of what they wanted. You never get everything you wanted, but hey, that's
it makes
a negotiation.
Me kind of think about two things. Number one, that having a nurse in every school is now guaranteed, and it seems absurd to me that there was ever a point where there wasn't a nurse in every school, because it's a guarantee. Kids get hurt in school. Kids get sick in school. Things happen in school where you would need a medical professional. So I think that's a major win, and I didn't even realize that that was a thing. But two, to put a social worker in every school, okay, it makes me think mental health professional or, lifestyle professional, and I think that that's great. I'm a big proponent and advocate of that, and I wish that more schools would follow suit, because we need these types of professionals in schools to work with kids and families, parents, and the like. So, like you said, it's a big win. It's a big deal. Congratulations, Chicago teachers. DC, we next. Like, no. Speaking of people fighting for what they deserve, what's going on over in Colorado? This family fighting back against the system over their house.
Well, they tried and just got KO'd.
Oh, God. What happened?
So this is, we talk a lot about topics of police, maybe overuse of force. Mm-hmm. So June 2015, a man, an armed suspect of a shoplifting incident, flees. There's a car chase. He holes up in a random house for 19 hours. In, where is this? Greenwood Village, Colorado, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. He's in there 19 hours. Accused of stealing like a couple T-shirts and belts from a Walmart. So if you ever been to a Walmart, I have once or twice. Clothing, a couple shirts and a couple belts. What is that? $50?
If you've ever been in Walmart, you have definitely seen someone stealing those shirts and belts.
Right. So it's a common occurrence. A, B, it's like, I don't know, $60. Let's call it $100, right?
Yeah.
So here's this man steals maybe $100 worth of merchandise. They're in a standoff for 19 hours. Police get a SWAT team. They're firing like gas canisters in there. 40 millimeter rounds, which I don't know how big those are, but those are the big ones.
Sounds huge.
Those are the big ones. Those are like roll in the tank and get that gun. Yeah. Right? That's large, massive, right? They drove an armored vehicle through the doors of this house, tossed flashbang grenades and explosive to blow out the walls inside the house to get a man who stole a T-shirt.
Let's back up, because I know sometimes we can say things that may come off as biased. Uh-huh. The man did shoot at the officers.
Okay.
With a handgun.
Okay.
He was a petty thief. Let's keep that in mind. Keep going.
Prone to make bad decisions. Okay, clearly.
I just wanted to be clear.
I mean, because it might be smart to not. Just shooting back at the police is going to escalate your $100 worth of. But the homeowner described it as looking like the joint where they killed Osama bin Laden at. Like, you go in there and it's just a total mess. There's drywall, ceiling, insulation, everything. His house is destroyed.
The house was blown up.
And then the condition, it was, basically, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they went with explosives and everything. It was later condemned by the city. You can't live in it. And so why are we talking about this? I said it was June 2015. We're talking about this because a court, the homeowner sued the city. Mm-hmm. And courts just recently came down at the end of October saying, look, police don't owe you anything. They were enforcing the law, and you're stuck.
Yep.
And I don't know if I don't know if the lesson of this story is they should be on the hook for everything they mess up, or they shouldn't be blowing up houses over T-shirts.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Because here's the thing.
lesson?
Here's the thing. So basically what this family tried to say was, if the law seizes your property and your property gets damaged in turn, they should pay you back. They should be responsible for the damages, right? So what the law basically said was, these officers did not seize your house. Someone took cover in your house, and they took the necessary measures in order to safely get this person out of your home. And by safely, they meant without killing anyone, right? So the issue that I agree with that. If the police are, at a high-speed chase and your car gets hit, they shouldn't have to freaking repair every car that gets hit. If there's a shootout and your wall catches a stray bullet, they shouldn't have to repair every stray bullet. But if they drive a fucking truck through your home, if they put explosives in your house and blow every wall out, if everything that you've ever owned is destroyed because of police force. Now, granted, if there was 16 armed robbers in there and it was necessary, like, damn, your house was a casualty of war, they should still compensate you. But it's the fact that you blew up my house because a dude stole shirts from Walmart and shot around with a freaking handgun that didn't require you to drive an armored truck through my door and literally blow my whole house up. Like, my house is now condemned. Yeah. There has to be a certain level of responsibility. First of all, this brought this to my attention because I didn't even know that if that level of force or that level of damage was caused, not only would the police not give you anything for it, but the city doesn't give you anything for it either. Well, I guess they offer them $5,000, but like
for rental assistance. Hey, we destroyed your house. If you're gonna rent something else,
are you insane? That's 2 months rent.
Yeah. Well, maybe not in out there in DC. That's like 2 months.
That's
rent.
2 months
but
rent in DC.
Out there, let's call it 6 months out there. Even if it was a year, that whole house is gone, right?
But I don't have clothes. I don't have furniture. It's ridiculous. Come on.
Part of this problem too is that the U.S. military is in a habit of selling off like outdated equipment, military equipment that is designed for war zones, out to like local police departments and municipalities and stuff like that. And I get that sometimes something wild happens. I mean, people are creative, especially in the way we can be violent. So I get that you need maybe some kind of SWAT stuff, but you got armored vehicles, you sending bombs and things in there. It's I can't even understand how anybody justifies this. I get how the courts do because, like you said, the law about if they commandeer your stuff, but the courts say, well, this is more like if we need to build a highway and we need your house, right, the property your house is on, we got to pay you for it. And this doesn't count. But I think effectively it does. You guys took full control of my home. I'm no longer allowed to use it. You break it, you bought it. How about that?
Like, literally, I'm so confused about how this is even in question. And it took this many years for them to come to the conclusion, just for them to be like, you know what? Nada. You get nothing. Go live with your daddy.
And this is the problem that we talk about in like one-on-one situations with officers and individual people suspected of crimes and everything, is the overwhelming use of force and the complete inability to de-escalate.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can think of 1,000 cartoons I grew up watching where they whistle and say, "Ma, I guess I better get out of here," and they pretend to walk away, and then somebody comes out of hiding because they think it's clear. Snap the cuffs on them. Like, do you need to destroy the whole house?
Right.
Or can you just stake a few cops on the block, watch for this guy, when he leaves, let's go for him again?
Like, he was literally about to get in the car and drive away. He scavenged the house for car keys. He found them. Wait, hold up. Sorry, something just came to mind. It's totally off topic. It's not off this topic. It's on topic, but it's not about the guy. It's about.
But you're on short leash
whole time, y'all. The mom was at the grocery store. The 9-year-old son that lived in this home was home alone when all of this happened. I'm sorry to distract from the main point, but that was startling to me. About, don't leave your kids at home, y'all, because the police came in and blew the whole house up. And your 9-year-old talking about he was in his room watching YouTube videos. That's an issue that I didn't want to gloss over the fact that anything could happen out here in these streets, and this child was just involved in quite a catastrophe.
Right. But now,
anyway, back to the point. I just had to say it.
So I'm glad you brought it up because some people who may have heard of the story might bring that up. But now shortly after he was allowed to leave, right? And the kid, quote, said the man said, "I don't want to hurt anybody. I just want to get away." So okay, right? Kid's out of there. The guy that clearly wasn't interested.
God.
He didn't take a hostage, right? If he took a hostage, I'd still think that was maybe not the best negotiating tactic.
No,
but
everybody could have died.
So the man clearly had no real malice. He let the kid walk out.
He just needed a couple shirts, and that's another thing, because we're also kind of glossing over the fact that it's not about if he was aggressive, if he shot back at the police or whatever. It's how do we even end up in this situation? This is a person who obviously couldn't afford a T-shirt. Like, he just needs clothes on his back. And I'm not saying that people who can't afford things should just go and steal them, but I'm saying look at the force we're using, because we know there's a poverty issue in this country, and this is a man who stole T-shirts and belts. Come on, dude.
Right. I mean,
T-shirts and freaking belts.
To be honest with you, I've had a friend who stole from me. And you know what I did?
Steal back from them.
Right, exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. Just wait till he's asleep and take the shirts back.
Right.
But when that happens, I got to look at what was stolen, and I got to decide what's my tolerance, my threshold for pain, right?
Yeah.
Am I gonna go run this guy down and fight him on the streets or something? Am I gonna just let it slide? Am I gonna confront him and then say, okay, bygones, bygones? What is it, right? And it happened a few times, and I had to have different reactions every time.
Right.
And ultimately, I had to cut that person out of my life. But you know what? The fact of the matter is, if I had a friend that stole 3 T-shirts and a couple belts from me, you know what? I can afford to lose 3 T-shirts and a couple belts.
I can't. Bring me my shit back.
But, well, you can't, but clearly this city can't. I mean,
right, I know. It's like it's a couple.
It's outrageous.
Again, it's probably $50 worth of stuff, maybe $80.
It's on the level of a personal disagreement, is my point, right? And they destroyed somebody's house.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, I think it's time for a break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the problems and joys of algorithms and facial recognition.
Let's do it.
Oh, man. All right, we'll be right back.
While we're on this break, we want to remind you, do not forget to share the podcast. Share it to all of your social media platforms, your Facebook, your Instagram, Twitter. Don't forget to use the hashtag #What'sTheDealPod whenever you share anything. And like and subscribe the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you listen. Thanks for spreading the love. You know we appreciate you. Anyway, no, you when you first said I lost my voice, do you hear me?
No.
Stop telling me I don't have a lisp. I do.
No. We'll let the viewers decide. Listeners, if you think she has a lisp, send us $5 on Cash App. If you don't think she has a lisp,
send us $10 on
Cash App. That's the only way we'll be able to tell who voted what.
There's no other poll.
What's good, everybody? Steve Discourse. But okay, seriously, if you've been learning something over the time you've been listening to What's the Deal podcast, we'd appreciate your support. Throw us a couple bucks. We need help covering costs for hosting and for editing and producing and recording these podcasts. You can reach out to us and support in 2 ways. Hit us up on Cash App. And yeah, some of you, that sounds weird. I know, I get it, but this is the way to do things. They do Cash App. Cash App me for my birthday. Cash App me because I'm in a bad mood. Cash App me because I'm doing a great podcast. You can hit Cash App and Venmo at WTD Pod. And you can also hit us at patreon.com/what's the deal. So just keep that in mind as you're listening. Thanks. What's good, everybody? Back again, Steve Discourse.
And you already know it's your girl, Jay Callie.
So as promised, what's going on with Amazon's recognition software?
Okay, y'all. Buckle in your seatbelt. It's about to get crazy. Amazon, it is a little crazy. So Amazon has been selling a facial recognition software called Recognition for quite some time. Some of you may have heard of it, some may not, because it's been under scrutiny before. But basically, they've sold this software to police districts, to the United States government, claiming that, hey, This software has a 99% accuracy rate. We would, just by the picture of a person or just by seeing their face, can identify exactly who this person is and pull up information on who they are. Why is this a problem? This is a huge breakthrough advancement in technology. Okay, no, because this software largely misidentifies people. Specifically, 19% of the time, women are misidentified and even mistaken as men. 30% of the time, darker-skinned women are misidentified and mistaken for men. And overall, people with dark skin are classified and misidentified of being a totally different person. Now, this has been made recent, like breaking news, because 27 members of the New England Patriots football team were misidentified not only as just other people, no, as cold-blooded criminals matching mugshot pictures from the system database. You wonder, were 27 New England Patriots actually criminals? Were those their mugshots? Absolutely not. It was not them. It was somebody totally different. And this facial recognition, okay, clearly if it's 27 people on one football team, does that sound like it's 99% accurate? Obviously not. I don't know how many members are on the New England Patriots, but this is clearly, how many members are on the New England Patriots? About 55? I don't know.
Like 50.
Something like 55. So this is probably 50% of the team, over 50% of the team, who has been misidentified. And that's just one football team, okay? Imagine how many people just walking up the street, strolling past New York City Police Department, and it's like, oh my God, that's exactly the man we're looking for. Now you're getting arrested, booked, and got to prove all this of who you actually are.
Yeah, it's wild. And, I mean, they have the benefit, obviously, being part of this experiment and also being famous.
Right.
Because, I mean, we talked about, I think in the past, a situation where police photoshopped a tattoo off of a suspect's face to get a conviction. And I mean, it's so already we know that there are lengths investigators and police and prosecutors go to get convictions. So if you're not a famous athlete with resources and people to go to bat for you, and your mugshot is, your face is confused with some mugshot, that's going to be a problem. If nothing else, because you're going to get hemmed up and stuck until they resolve it, let alone if you actually have to defend yourself from it, right? So Amazon, in their kind of defense against this research, said that, the researchers put it on an 80% similarity threshold.
Yeah.
However, the reason that they did that is because that is the default setting for this software. And Amazon says, but we insist that police departments we give it to use a 99% match setting. But okay, case in point, they photoshopped a tattoo off of a guy's face to get a witness to corroborate this man's participation in the crime. So, and police are under a burden to get these convictions and things, right? A lot of prosecutors and everybody, they're not content to just go, was it or not? I don't know. They want to get convictions by, all right, I won't say by any means necessary, but that's
seeming that way.
And it might be, but I'm just not going to say it now. So the fact that you say we insist, we insist. They have no actual control over whether police departments use a 99% setting.
Exactly, and it actually said that in the article, because they're like, no, this is 99% correct. But it's like, so how can you confirm that? How can you make that a reliable claim? Oh, we have no way of making that a reliable claim. It's totally up to the people who we've sold this software to.
Right.
Okay, but they've been proven to be manipulative. So what can you say about that? Oh, nothing? Okay, sit down. That's it.
Yeah, and they say, the software is supposed to be one part of a process of identifying a person. And that's fair. I get that. But let's be realistic. Like in practice, that's you got to make sure this stuff works. You got to sell a different product, right? If you want to sell it to random people just for fun, give them a 50% similarity match, right? Fine.
Exactly.
But you giving this to government and police to enforce the law, you better be 100% sure. And nothing less than that. All right, 99% sure. Fine.
So, yeah, and even at 99%, it still misidentified several people. So I think that the issue overall is that it's hard to control things like this. At the end of the day, these are computers. And I was kind of talking about this earlier. I was like, I walk past people on the street and I'm like, I don't even know if it's a woman or a man more than 99% of the time. And I'm a human being and I'm listening to your voice, looking at the way you talk, looking at the way you're dressed. And I'll be like, I don't know. So to hear that a computer didn't know women from men 19% of the time, I mean, you can't even think that you can dwindle that down to 99% because it's hard, especially just off of a picture, because facial features are just facial features. It's a nose, it's eyes, it's lips.
So a couple points. To me, I'm okay with misidentification if the mistakes are made by people, right? Because what are we going to do? We're people trying to enforce laws with other people. That's all we got. We got to rely on each other. Like in sports, there's a lot of video replay now, or video like review of calls. You know what? I'd rather deal with mistakes from referees than and then deal with mistakes from police or a witness or something than deal with a computer, because you got to understand that. And you know what? Let me read this quote. If we don't fix the biases we have in if we don't fix the biases we have in healthcare before we jump to training computers to do it, we're just going to actually perpetuate those biases. Now, why did I say healthcare? Because just the other day I was listening to a story about the bias in the training and recognition in dermatology of certain symptoms. And there's a huge difference between what like a rash looks like on light skin versus dark skin.
Yeah.
And they're facing a real issue with diversity and with being prepared to diagnose these things on a diverse group of patients. And the problem is the industry, like many industries, wants to systematize. They want to automate as many things as possible. And I'm quoting Dr. Roxana Danishu. And this story was on NPR for credit. So that's where I'm getting this from. And it was a really good conversation about the fact that humans have biases. We're gonna make mistakes, and we're not gonna have the full picture. And if we make mistakes, that's fine, because that's what humans do. But you got to remember, when you turn this into a system and you write the code, and it's an algorithm and it's software, any mistakes, any blind spots I have, any biases I have, I'm writing this code. It's gonna be in there. And then the thing is, okay, it's part of a process, right, where you got to authenticate and check and do a couple steps. But tell me, if you're at work and you know your job is to consult this database, there's a lot of money, a lot of work, a lot of expertise went into creating that thing. And that all that legitimizes it, right?
Yeah.
These are expensive processes and procedures. And they become legitimate just because they exist and now they're part of your work process. So when we call this up, we don't inherently assume, well, this thing is probably unreliable. If it was probably unreliable, we wouldn't be using it, right? So just the fact that you introduce it into my decision-making process, we tend to have faith in these processes, in these algorithms. So if they're not perfect, if they're not as perfect as we can get, we're setting everybody up for failure, because as has been reported, all this, the issues it has in accurately identifying mostly people of color. It's much better with white skin. So right off the bat, who in inventing this in the first place was dumb enough to just be working with only white people, right? So straight off the bat, that was a huge.
We know
you'd think if the word facial recognition software came into your mind as an invention, you'd realize that there are more faces than just white skin. And if you know a little bit about photography, light reacts different with different complexions.
As everything does. And again, we know who the people are who have the privilege to not have to recognize that fact. You get what I'm saying? Or not even the privilege. Have these huge blind spots of cultural and racial diversity and just the differences amongst different people from other places in the world to not even consider that, because you don't have to. Right. Okay?
And so those are baked in. So now we've spent millions of dollars developing this process, and now people who don't know anything about it, they just show up to work. They know that there's this expensive, highly technical, presumably accurate system that they need to default, and check against. It's not our natural assumption to be skeptical of that. It's our natural assumption to say, well, this is probably pretty good. They wouldn't have brought it in. Right. They wouldn't be letting police use this to lock people in jail if it wasn't reliable. That's our default assumption because it's already there. It exists. This is a huge infrastructure set up for me why would it be unreliable? So it's really dangerous. And these algorithms are all over the place. You know, Facebook uses algorithms to decide who sees our posts, right? And who doesn't see our posts.
That's kind of scary and weird and freaky, and I don't like it.
Right. And if you want to learn more about this.
Hold on, let's back up before you say that. Are you telling me that when I pick up my phone, you're just talking about standard algorithms, not facial recognition? Because I was about to say, when you telling me when I look on somebody's post from my phone, Facebook says this girl looked at your post from my face. No, you mean because I'm logged in and they know who I am because I'm logged in. Tell me that's what you mean.
I just meant that when I post, they decide whose feed it goes on and things like that.
Thank you.
But at the same time,
they might be looking at me through this camera.
But if I post a picture, it may say that looks like Jay Callie. Do you want to tag her?
They're definitely going to do that. They already do that.
No, they already do. So if you want to read more about and learn more about the role that algorithms play, there's an amazing book. It came out in maybe 2017, 18. It's called Weapons of Math Destruction by Kathy O'Neill. Exactly about how people with huge blind spots or biases are writing these programs that influence our lives in ways that are so deep. And once they're ingrained, it's hard to challenge them because it's like, well, this is an elaborate system. What do you mean it's flawed? Because we don't even realize our own biases. So then once you build it into the entire world, who's going to question it?
Can I share a quick story?
Yeah, go for it. I've been talking for a while.
Let's lighten the mood. The other day, as you all know, I wasn't here last week. I was out of the country. When I was going through the airport and I went to give him my boarding pass, he was like, oh, no, we don't need that no more. We're beyond that. All you got to do is just walk. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, you just walk in there and the ticket is going to come out. And when I walked past the camera, it scanned my face and it literally pulled up who I was, what my boarding information, my seat number on the plane. They didn't have to scan my boarding code at all. They just scanned my face. I didn't even have to stop walking. I didn't even break my stride. I just walked. He snatched the little ticket. He passed it to me, and I kept on going. That was my I don't know if y'all have already had this, if this is breaking news or not, but when he said, we'll know who you are, I didn't realize what he meant.
Right.
Until he gave me the ticket, and I said, oh, my God, my face is now the barcode.
Right, and that's weird, right? Because imagine it misidentified you and said, hold on, that's not her. Now maybe
they would have thought I was a terrorist.
Right. Well, now maybe you have an ID and maybe it'll just take 2 minutes and you'll sort it out, but maybe not, right? Because we know people are flying around the country with a Washington, D.C. license, and people at airport securities have been reported to say, well, this is not a valid state ID. Who are you, right?
Exactly.
So there's so many ways that if that facial recognition mismatched you, again, inherently, we're making assumptions that thing's pretty reliable. So now we're looking at you really skeptical instead of saying, okay, well, hold on, this thing, is not perfect, so you're probably good. So,
all right,
we got to be careful, y'all. Yeah, we've said enough. This has been another thrilling, luxurious episode of What's the Deal?
Very much so.
So thanks for tuning in. That's the door creaking. We got Licious coming in. He's got to take care of some other business, but I appreciate him trying to creep right back out to not interfere with us. We're going to be wrapping up right now so he can come in and subscribe, like, share, leave us a review, tell all your friends. We love it. Thanks,
also,
everybody.
Also, send me money to my Cash App.
WTDPOD.
All right, people, thanks so much for tuning in another week to What's the Deal podcast.
You can follow us on social media at Steve Discourse
and at It's Jay Callie.
We got to send a huge shout out to my man Clifford Cartel for composing our theme music.
And wherever you listen to this, make sure you subscribe.
Leave us a review because those really help.
Share it with your friends, share it with your family, your loved ones.
Heck, share it with your enemies. We don't care. Just get the word out there. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.